What's up, guys? Welcome back. Today we have a team selection, a review of Game Week 5, and preview of Game Week 6 all in the same video this time. Last week I replaced Foden and Vardy with Son and Kane for a -4, which turned out well, but even if I wouldn't have done that and I kept Vardy, Saiss would have came in for me, so I would have been okay with that as well. Salah captain wasn't quite successful as Kane and Son did better, but at least I continue my streak of getting a captain return every week so far. I got a tiny red arrow actually, even though these transfers were so beneficial for me. I still went down, what was it, probably 40k. I think my rank now is like 280k, maybe 300k. I haven't really looked since the final update, but I'm still well up there, way above where I was at this point last year. So hopefully I can finish above where I did last year, which was like 14k overall. So I'm really hoping to improve on that, and so far it's looking good. The other players that got returns were Jimenez, Taylor, Calvert-Lewin, James, and Saiss, who I benched. Jimenez was very lucky to get his goal, as his shot took a huge deflection. I know a lot of people may be looking to get rid of Wolves attackers because they haven't looked great going forward. They haven't created a ton of chances, but I will keep Jimenez because he still has some more good fixtures coming up, and he sort of still is their talisman, and he's on penalties and all that good stuff. Calvert-Lewin has simply been playing very well and scored a very nice goal against Liverpool. James assisted him with a cross, but also got a yellow card. Everton have some great fixtures coming up, so I'm sort of expecting some big things, but I think their injuries and suspensions could affect them. So James is now injured and won't play against Southampton. Richarlison is also out for them because of his dumb red card. And with these two creative players out, I mean, these guys do create a lot of chances for Calvert-Lewin. I think that it takes Calvert-Lewin off of my captaincy option list for this week at least, even though it is a good matchup against Southampton and their defensive issues have been pretty well documented. So Burnley finally kept a clean sheet, which gave Charlie Taylor points, and I expect more to come from them. I think they have been good defensively, and this is sort of their first clean sheet, but they've had some tough matchups before that, and I think they'll come around and get. They're pretty much always solid defensively, right? So I'm not planning on getting rid of Taylor anytime soon. I'm planning on benching him this week, but we'll get to that later. So Saiss had a goal that got ruled out, but still kept a clean sheet, which is good to see. A lot of people are speculating that Saiss could lose his place, and I simply don't see it yet. I don't think we have any evidence that he will lose his spot, but I do understand that they could play other options. I personally think they should keep playing him at left wing back and keep playing Kilman at left center back, because Kilman has looked pretty good so far. So moving on to Game Week 6, here's how my team currently looks before my free transfer. I am trying to find out how long James will be out for. If he's only out for one game, maybe two, which is right now what I'm thinking is the case, that he'll just be out one game. It's listed as a knock on the FPL website. So if that's the case, I will transfer out Egan for Konza, and I'd say that's a 90% chance it's going to happen. Sheffield United simply aren't as good as they were last season, and they're continuing their poor form since Project Restart. So Sheffield United, they couldn't score goals last year anyway. I mean, Lundstrom scored a decent amount for them, and he sort of hasn't scored for them in a bit now. But defensively, they were good last season, and without their good defense, they're just bad overall. So I think they'll probably be relegated this season. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Sheffield United, Fulham, West Brom maybe. I would say relegation options right now. But yeah, they're just not good. Konza is cheaper than Egan, so I'll gain some money in this transfer. And I'll also get a good piece of the Aston Villa defense, which has looked good. I think Konza is good at attacking aerial balls in the box, so I hope he can add to his current goal tally of 1. Now, what do we expect from Aston Villa? And this sort of ties in with James replacements as well, because they have Grealish in there. And I know a lot of people may be looking to get rid of James, or just in general get rid of some of those mid-price midfielders like Barnes, who I think you should probably get rid of. So I'm not completely sold on Aston Villa yet, but they have great fixtures. So I think it's a good time to bring them in. And obviously Grealish is the talisman, and I think he's a good price. You know, the other people that you could replace For James, I would say maybe you take a chance on Havertz. Now that he's centrally, he's looked good. He's gotten some consistent returns, even though in his first couple of games, they were playing him out of position and he didn't look great. So I think Havertz could become an option and you get a sort of cheap piece of that Chelsea attack. But I got to stick with Trossard here as well. I think he's the cheaper option of the bunch. He's got a great matchup this week against West Brom. Brighton were sort of disappointing last week. I mean, to lose the game was a bit unfortunate for them because they only gave up one shot. I think that was the penalty, and they just couldn't quite create like a really good chance that they could finish. But I think Trossard's still a good option, but I think that Grealish has a higher upside. But me personally, I'm probably going to keep James, as I mentioned, and after bringing Konza in, that will mean that I will basically be relying off somebody to come in off the bench for James, and that person will either be Mitchell or Taylor for me once Taylor is on the bench. Now, will Mitchell play? Honestly, I have no idea. It would suck for me the first week I really need him. He's going to all of a sudden be benched for Van Aanholt because Van Aanholt's back and fit. I would probably put Mitchell first sub. That way, if he does start, because I don't expect him to come on as a sub because most teams don't really make defensive subs like that. But Van Aanholt is just coming back from injury, so maybe they could like sub him off just for fitness reasons. Or maybe Mitchell does just start again, and then I get a likely clean sheet against Fulham, who are pretty atrocious. So Mitchell first sub, and then I'll put Taylor second sub, just because Lamina is just worse than Taylor, because Lamina comes on as a sub every game. So that'll be the team for me. Captaincy this week, I'm just going to go with Salah again. As I mentioned, Burnley looked pretty good defensively, in my opinion. Now, I think Spurs will certainly score on them and do well, but it's just not the same as Sheffield United at home. So Salah, and it's Salah. I mean, as I said last video and the video before that, because I've captained Salah every week but one now, you really have to do something for me to captain somebody over Salah, especially when he has a good matchup, and especially when it's at home. Because it's Mohamed Salah, and he's proven season after season that he can be reliable, and I feel like last 3 seasons he's been my most captain player, and it's worked out pretty well for me. I'm definitely sticking with him for this match, and I'm happy to simply have Kane and Son and not captain them. Salah typically dominates people in shots in the box and all those good stats that you want to see out of attackers. He just gets so much quantity of chances that's why I like Mohamed Salah. Obviously, he's a quality player as well, and that makes a big difference, and he's also on penalties. So this is how the team will look, and I think that if I could, like, let's say I can use a wild card without actually using my wild card, I would definitely get Robertson over Alexander-Arnold, as well as other things, obviously, but Robertson, he's been getting forward more, getting more crosses into the box. Alexander-Arnold hasn't really had a matchup yet where he's been constantly sending chances and crosses into the box for the attackers. Right now, I think he has a better goal threat than assist threat because he's not even on all the corners as he was last season. Not all the corners, but he took more corners last season. So not really too hot on Alexander-Arnold, especially at his price when there are cheaper options, even just 0.5 cheaper with Robertson. If you haven't joined my mini league yet, feel free to do so. Link is in the description. I don't really promote it that much outside of my videos. That way, only people that watch will really join. But thanks for watching. Have a good game week 6, just not as good as mine. And I will see you next time.
I'ma tell it how I know it.
K-Dub, 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 K-Dub.
Ain't no cap in my crowd.